Welcome into another episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing here on the Motor Racing Network. As always, Chris Wilner from our Concord studios just north of Charlotte, North Carolina, where it is a hot and humid 91 degrees. So I think summer's officially hit here. Kyle Rickey up in Connecticut. Kyle, a couple weeks now off the spring sizzlers. So how are things looking up in your neck of the woods?
Not 91 degrees, I can tell you that right now. It is cloudy, wet, and maybe 60. But kind of a weird weather pattern up here. I mean, one day it's nice and 70 degrees, like we had on Sunday, and then 48 hours later, bring out the jackets. And, but it's all right. It's the end of April, beginning of May. We usually get that this time of year.
Yep.
We'll be all right with it.
And you've been busy up there too, getting ready for weekly racing. I know you had the Wild Thing carts doing their practice deal. You ready to get the official start of the season? I know the Spring Sizzler's the really opening of the racetrack, but once we get the weekly series going, that's got to be exciting for you guys too.
Yeah, that's when the grind begins. Obviously there's a lot of pressure into producing that event. The Spring Sizzler a couple of weeks ago, 2 days, lots of racing, lots of people. So it was nice to kind of catch your breath because a lot led into that. But now it's, that weekly grind. And as long as Mother Nature allows, we'll be running, every Friday night now through September. So here we go. And it's my favorite time of the year. Monday night, you mentioned the carts. We had about 80 carts of practice a couple of days ago. They kick off this coming Monday night. So, we kind of open the week with carts, end the week with the modifieds and the late models on the big track. So love it.
And meanwhile, I was doing something completely different up at Laguna Seca, checking out IMSA, getting to work with the team up at IMSA at wonderful WeatherTech Raceway Laguna Seca. If you've never been, oh my gosh, it's worth just going there and stepping foot right at the base of the corkscrew where it's a 5.5-story drop, 10 stories total from turn 8 to 9, the base of 9. It's absolutely insane. The weather was a little bit chilly, but it was beautiful and cool to see some drivers you don't normally get to see. Although Parker Chase, we talk about in the ARCA series, he's back running IMSA full-time in the Michelin Pilot Challenge. So talk about a guy who's got to do the whole left turn thing and then go now left and right with the IMSA Michelin Pilot Challenge series. So it's really cool to watch him in action as well as the rest of the group. So I had a lot of fun with that. Something I don't normally get to do a whole lot, but it's cool whenever I get the chance to do it. So
MRN covered IMSA for a couple of years full time. That is one track I didn't get to go to. Dan Hubbard, who lives out in California, got to call the turns out there for us, and he loved every second of it, as would most people. But an incredible facility. I've heard and seen so much about it from afar and would love to get there one day.
Yeah, maybe you can come with me next year. We'll do a little coast-to-coast vacation. We'll go out to Laguna Seca and enjoy. But it's crazy. 18-degree incline up the side of a mountain to get to the racetrack. I mean, you feel like you're going to fall off a cliff when you drive up there. Pretty cool stuff. But I tell you what is also pretty cool, and also it's also like going down a cliff, is turn 1 into Dover, and that's what we had the Arc Menard Series East action here this weekend, the General Tire 125. Congratulations to Mr. Taylor Gray. The young star is really starting to make a name for himself. His first East win, but his second career ARCA win after winning that race in Phoenix, and pretty cool, Kyle. Good story of a young driver making things happen for David Gillen Racing.
And I think this is something we would have seen last year, if not for his road accident that he had right at the start of the year last spring. I think he was the favorite to win the ARCA East Championship a year ago. And then when he recovered and healed up, and he now becomes the favorite to win this year's title. And it's a close race, but I think he is somebody that we're going to be talking a lot about in the long-term future. Great race on Friday to open up the weekend in Dover, holding off Jesse Love at the finish, Connor Jones up there in the top 3 as well. Fairly clean race, which is good for those teams that don't have the biggest budget in the world, not a whole lot of cautions. And Taylor on fire right now.
Yeah, especially after leaving Talladega. It's good to have clean race cars that aren't having to be hauled off to the junkyard after this weekend for sure. And also pretty cool, not only Connor Jones finishing, on a podium spot, his debut for Venturini. They had a few drivers making their debuts as well, and he did a good run for Venturini. But how about the new body style debut that Taylor Gray drove, that new Mustang? It's the new body style for ARCA this year. Pretty sleek looking race car, and it's funny, Sammy Smith won the first 2 events. And I think the article said after the race that all Taylor needed was just a brand new looking race car and fresh bullet, and he went out there and whooped him. So pretty cool to see him do that in a new car body.
I haven't seen it up close yet. From what I was able to see on Flow, it looks spectacular, and obviously looked really good out front for most of the race on Friday afternoon. So look forward to hopefully seeing it here in the next couple of weeks in person.
Yeah, absolutely. So, and speaking of Sammy, finished in 5th, so a good top 5 run. But again, the tight points battle, it's just down to 2 with Sammy Smith at the top. So certainly Taylor Gray taking a good old chunk bite out of it after taming the monster up there in Dover. Jesse Love, we can't say it enough. The guy, a 2-time West Series champion, now venturing off with the National Series as well as running select East races. He's a guy who's doing a lot to help his driving career. He's going to be in a micro once again at Millbridge, I think, this week. He was running it a couple times earlier this year. A guy who, I visited with him a little bit, and he said, I just want to do everything I can to make myself a better race car driver. Nothing just about running pavement, but just anything I can do to hone my skills. And I think it's paying off because he's running well at different racetracks than we're used to seeing him run at.
And I feel like we're seeing more and more people do that. Yeah. I feel like you go into the pits at Millbridge on Tuesday or mainly Wednesday nights, and you're getting these drivers from all different types of disciplines. ARCA, I feel like, road racing drivers, ARCA, NASCAR, off-roaders, and they're there and they're finding success, and it's paying off when they get back to their full-time gig on the weekends.
Yeah, absolutely. And I'll give you the report next week of who we had this week up at Millbridge, because it's about to be another star-studded event for sure on the dirt. But Raja Caruth also rounded out in the top 5 up in the 4th spot. He leads your National ARCA Menard Series points. Another great story. Hope to have him on the show coming up in a couple weeks. ARCA East, though, quick turnaround. They're at Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway coming up this week. We'll have a preview a little bit later on in the show. And then how about a little shout-out for Josh Berry, one of the short track guys we've had on the show numerous of times, including this year, picked up his 3rd career win in the Xfinity Series. So one for the short track guys at Dover, Kyle.
Former NASCAR Advanced Auto Parts Weekly National Champion for Josh, a driver that has found so much success in late models down in the Southeast. And it's so good to see him up front. There are so many fans that cheered for him to get this opportunity on the national level. And Dale Jr. heard very loudly those cheers were the last couple of years when he ran part-time. He won last year. He's won this year now several times in the last year or so. And I think he's a championship favorite. And it's fun to see him race his teammates. Junior Motorsports running so well. A couple of more of those short track guys. Justin Allgaier was up there duking it out on Saturday afternoon. But Josh Berry, we knew the potential, and now we're seeing the potential.
Yeah, absolutely. So congratulations to Josh. Moving on to some other news and notes from the weekend. Hickory Motor Speedway had a pair of twin features again out at the track up in Hickory, which is one of my favorite short tracks here in the area. Matthew Gold won race 2 of the twin features, 144th, Kyle, different winners since 1983 in the Premier Series out at Hickory. That is a staggering number. If you look at the number of names of drivers that have come out of that racetrack starting their career, that's pretty cool.
NASCAR names are made at Hickory every Saturday night. Congratulations to Matt Gould, who had a good night. William Zawalich had a great night, finishing 2nd in both races. Katie Hettinger picking up the win in race number 1. So the ladies have found some success out at Hickory this year. We talked to Annabeth Barnes-Crum a couple of weeks ago. She had a tough night last week, getting involved in an incident on the front stretch in race number 1, and then a lap 1 incident in race number 2 over in turn number 3 that wiped out about half the field. So a rough night for the late models, but good for Katie Hettinger, who also got a top 5 in race number 2 as well, finishing in the 5th spot.
Awesome stuff at Hickory. I know they're back racing this week. South Boston, pretty cool, Kyle, to watch the must-see racing sprint cars. If you haven't seen them, folks, sprint cars, 410 sprint cars with wings on them, and they absolutely rip around South Boston. It was really cool to see, although a buddy of mine, Joe Ligori, had one of the hardest hits I've seen in a while out there in a sprint car. Luckily, he walked out to be okay, but that was a fun weekend. Did you get to watch it on Flow? And tell us about it.
I did. Great racing. I had several streams going, both Friday and Saturday night, because Stafford was off this weekend, and we really haven't kicked up the weekly scene up here in New England. So I I had, I don't know, 4 or 5 streams going at one point. It was crazy, and a lot going on at South Boston. Bobby Santos III sweeping the weekend, both Friday and Saturday in those sprint cars. I said a moment ago, they scare me. They get around there in a hurry, but they're fun to watch when everything goes right. And thankfully, everything went right. Lane Riggs, Jacob Borst, great late model fields on Saturday night. They ran twin races. They were the victors on Saturday evening in those twin 75-lap events. They're back this coming weekend. No, May 14th for a 100-lap late model feature. But when you talk about late model racing down in that part of the country, South Boston always has a great car count. It seems like more times than not, you're one of your national championship contenders at the end of the year is competing at South Boston on a weekly basis.
Yeah, and you mentioned Lane Riggs, him and Peyton Sellers, again, head-to-head, and that's going to be, I think, the battle for the national championship. And Peyton's already been named to the SRX ride. He's got the clout behind him as a national championship contender again, but I think Lane Riggs may have something for him this year, so we'll keep an eye on that battle as it progresses this year. Carolina Pro Late Models, Mason Maggio won his second race of 2022. They've got Dillon Motor Speedway coming up in a couple weeks. Monadnock Speedway, one of the coolest tracks to say. That was fun for the tri-track modifieds.
How do you say it?
Monadnock. Did I say it right?
Monadnock?
Okay, well, that's your New England accent coming out, I think. Well, tomato. We know what it is. We know it produces great modified racing as we transition to modifieds. And Matt Hirschman, right off his Sizzler win, goes up there and wins. What? Who? Matt Hirschman? Have you heard of him?
Big money.
Yeah, big money. Big money. Gets it done again. I think it's $16,000. $16,000 was the purse again? I mean, where is this guy? Do you have to open up like an offshore bank account to keep all of his funds in? Because this is getting ridiculous, Kyle.
Been a big couple of weeks for Matt, winning the Sizzler at Stafford and then going to Monadnock on Saturday and picking up the race win. Did a great job. It was a good race. They had, I think, 24 cars take the green flag. Sam Ramo finished in second. In fact, it was a tough weekend for Sam because he finished second in that race, the open modified race, and then in the sportsman modified race the next day. But everyone's chasing big money right now. And wherever he shows up, whether it be down south in the Smart Tour or up in New England, he's the man to beat. And, everyone's still talking already about July 2nd, SRX. We know what he can do in a modified, but what can he do in a fendered car?
I think he'll be okay, Kyle, but you're right. I can't wait to see what he can do for sure. So what a great weekend for the tri-track modifieds. And then keeping with the modified tour, we've got Bowman Gray. And again, we documented it with their opener with the Hayes Jewelers 200. What a great event that was. Now we shorten it and go twin 25-lap sprints, which if you need any more reason to call it the Madhouse, here you go, because it's just a sprint to the finish with 25 laps. But Jonathan Brown took the first race over Jason Myers, Chris Fleming, and Randy Butner won the second race, and Kyle, probably one of the coolest last laps, going from third to first like a champ.
A living legend of Bowman Gray Stadium. Has been racing there for 35 years in a modified. Was buying his time in the third spot. Lap traffic became a factor. He got second. About 5 seconds later, the caution comes out. I don't think he would have got to the race leader at that point, but the caution helped him. Was able to take the race lead off turn 2 on the final lap. There was no bump and run. It was a clean pass off of turn number 2. He had room to the inside, and away he went to claim the win. So great night at the Madhouse. But Tim Brown, we talked to him a couple weeks ago, started on the outside pole of, I believe it was race number 1. And by the time they got to turn 3, he was 9th. So when he said the outside lane is junk, I believe was his word.
Yeah.
He wasn't kidding because, that whole outside lane backed up and he wasn't even close by the time they got to turn 2, never mind, down the backstretch and into turn 3, just trying to hang on to the top 10. But in fact, Randy also lost a couple of spots in race 2, restarted in the outside lane and lost, 2 or 3 spots in the second race before he jammed his car into the bottom. So going to be an interesting season out there to see how that new pavement and that outside line develops as the summer wears on.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think Tim would have, he's a quote machine, as we heard a couple weeks ago on our show, but I'm sure he would add some serious choice words about that racetrack for sure. But I think it's just going to be something, it's wear and tear. You got to roll it in and get some, rubber laid down and kind of get that track worked in after a fresh repave. So we'll check back in a couple weeks and kind of see what everybody thinks about it then or later on this summer. A couple shout outs before we get to talk to Randy, our big winner up at Bowman Gray. Jake Garcia's 7th career Show Me the Money Series win at Montgomery, kicking off their season, big time season down there, and he hasn't won the title down there yet, but he's got 7 wins now, so maybe this is the opportunity for him. Casey Johnson, a 2-time ARCA Midwest Tour champion, held off some of the best, including Ty Majeski and Matt Kenseth in the Joe Shear Classic, one of the big races out at Madison. And Augie Grill, we talked about modifieds. Mr. Pensacola when it comes to modifieds, his 6th Modified Mayhem Tour win. Again, nearly 30, I think, or more than 30 at that racetrack amongst different series. So those are my little shout-outs for the week. Congratulations to all of our winners.
Todd Patnode, we talked about Sam Ramo finishing 2nd in not 1 but 2 races. Todd Patnode will be my shout-out, getting the Sportsman Modified win up at the Monadnock Speedway on Sunday afternoon. Big weekend of racing for them. Clean weekend of racing. And they'll be back in action this Saturday evening for the start of their regular weekly program.
Lots happened, lots still to come, but first, on the other side of the break, it's time to talk with our big winner out at Bowman Gray Stadium, Mr. Randy Butner. He's on the other side of the break, joining us live via Zoom, so don't go anywhere. NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing. We'll be right back. You're watching NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR Roots. Catch the Wheel and Modified Tour, ARCA Menard Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on FlowRacing.com. Subscribe today. Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing. We talked about Bowman Gray Stadium just before the break. Well, we're going to talk to the winner of one of the 2 races we had here in week number 2 of the season. It is Mr. Randy Butner, the number 5 modified driver. Congratulations picking up that race win this weekend. We talked to Tim Brown, last week, Kyle, and we mentioned that the new repave was going to throw a bunch of curveballs at everybody running the stadium this year. What's your overall assessment? Certainly you took a liking to it. They're picking up the checkered flag this weekend.
Yeah, I think it's thrown all of us a curve. And before I forget it, thank you for having me. We're all struggling, and some weeks some people get a hold of it, and other weeks other people get a hold of it. So I think it's going to make for an interesting season, especially for the fans.
Walk us through the last couple laps. It was fun to watch here from home up in New England of race number 2. You were in 3rd coming to the white. Lap car got in the mix. You took the 2nd spot. The caution comes out. And then there's a 1-lap shootout. A lot happened in a short amount of time. Kind of bring us through it from your seat.
Well, it does. But, that's just typical Bowman Gray racing. You never know how it's going to turn out. It's just one surprise after another. Everyone's trying to scramble and get that win and get the position. So it's every man for himself. And we were struggling a little bit. The car not quite where it needs to be. We're still working on it, and we hope to get it better here in the future. But we come out on top this time. We, it was tight. It was bumper to bumper, wheel to wheel. I think the 78 car slipped a little bit in the corner and allowed me to get the nose under him. The lap car did play a part in it. Lap traffic over there is an issue because the track is so small and narrow. And basically our outside groove has not come in as of yet. So it's kind of tedious to get around lap cars and race right now.
And you obviously had to set yourself up having just run race number 1. So how difficult is that when we have back-to-back features at a track like Bowman Gray that, one little misstep in one race, you could have to, thrash on your car to fix it up or whatever, but, to keep it clean, to give yourself an opportunity to win race number 2. Just how hard is that from a driver and a team standpoint?
Well, it's a double-edged sword. You got to take care of your car in the first race, but I look at it as an advantage because you get to see what you have in the first race stacked up against your competitors, and then make adjustments and try to be a little better in the second race. Of course, they're doing the same thing also, but I think it gives us a chance to actually shake down and see where we're at and then make adjustments.
You've been racing at Bowman Gray since 1987, obviously the veteran out there every Saturday night. What is it about that place that you love so much?
Wow. How much time do you have?
It's a loaded question, I know.
It's the people, the fans. I mean, you won't find any more passionate fans anywhere in the country than Bowman Gray Stadium. the people that run the track, they're really got the racer and the fans' best interest in heart. And I don't know, it's just a neat place to race, and it's close to home. It's got a lot of history. If you're big with NASCAR history, which I am, the place is just basically a historical monument. And it's just a fun place to race. And, everyone's like family. We may quarrel and fight amongst ourselves, but at the end of the night, we're all family.
Take us back. I know you have experience in many different series, going back in the 80s, running the NASCAR, Busch series, but then what drew you to modified racing? What is it about it, the ground pounders, as we call them, that really got you excited? And obviously you've been very successful since then.
Well, honestly, I didn't set out to race modifieds. When I run the Busch Grand National car, they were bringing in the V6 engine, and a lot of the changes in the rules obsoleted the equipment that I had. So I really couldn't continue at that level with the money that was being spent in that level at that time. So we moved to the modifieds and sort of found a home. 35 years later, we're still there. I have a drag race car since the stadium season is so short. I played with my drag race car before and after the stadium season, and I run Ace Speedway with a modified for another gentleman on Friday night. So I stay pretty busy with it.
Busy indeed. You mentioned you've been going to the stadium since the 80s as a regular. We talk every week, 15,000, 16,000, 17,000 people pack that place. Has it always been like that? I think the stadium back in 2010, when the Madhouse show really got that first big boost of notoriety nationwide, when we really first started to see it on a bigger scale. Before that, were there still 15, 20,000 people there every week?
There were on the big races, and these were basically local people that were dedicated. You've had people going to Bowman Gray Stadium that's been going over there for 40 years, and they went with their parents, and, now they're grown up and taking their kids. And it's, the Madhouse series did bring more people to it because it became nationally known then instead of just a local track. But you have enough local people that loves Bowman Gray Stadium that comes to support it and cheer on their favorite driver.
And going along with that growth too, I mean, this year Bowman Gray, one of the dozens and dozens and dozens of tracks that keep getting added to the Flow Racing lineup of, being able to broadcast races every single week. How big is that for you guys as drivers to have that exposure? It's no more just these big events at Bowman Gray, but now it's every week you're on a national platform.
That is right. I've had people call me this week that I haven't talked to in years that live out of state, that were not at the races, but they watched it on Flow Racing. So they called to congratulate me. And they also said how good the coverage was on Flow, and that they really appreciated that they can watch Bowman Gray from another state now. So it's really good.
Yeah, Matt Dillner and Jacqueline Drake did a great job on Saturday night. They'll be back out there, I believe, this week. Kevin Powell, 100. What type of events do you like, Randy? We had twin 25s. We had a 200 lapper to start the race a couple of weeks, or start the season a couple of weeks ago. 100 laps this week. Do you have one preference over another as far as the way the night looks, whether it be twin features or a long event?
Well, I don't. When I come from the Busch series, we were used to running long distance races, so I was more suited to that. But then I learned to appreciate the short sprint 25 lappers. It's like 25 qualifying laps. And really, it breaks up the monotony. If you had all long races or all short races, it would get kind of monotonous. But now we have a little something different every week, and the fans enjoy that too, that they're not seeing the same thing week in, week out. Like this weekend, it'll be the full field draw. So you may qualify on the pole and draw 22nd. So, it really adds a lot of suspense to the racing over there. I think the fans love it. They love the cone restarts. So it's a neat event. It really is.
Oh, I tell you what, that invert just sent shivers down my spine as a driver, because you never know what's going to happen. Like you said, I can't imagine drawing a 27 after qualifying on the pole. We talk, to many drivers on this show, grassroots racing. They all come from different backgrounds. But how special is it for you to share with your brother Marty and co-owning Butner Racing and kind of getting that off the ground and sharing it between the two of you and the success that you've had?
That is special. It's made it kind of a family affair. Marty's sons and my son helps, on the team, and it's like a family deal. Marty and I have raced together for 40 years now. He used to drive himself, And he ended up being my crew chief and my spotter. And I couldn't ask for a better spotter. He is fantastic. But it's kind of like a family affair. And my wife, she puts in a lot of help with it, with the race team too. Just everybody pitches in and does their part. So it's really neat. And it's good that you get to spend time with family doing something you love.
My final question for you, and you touched on it in Victory Lane about the car not being up to snuff lately, and you touched on it a little bit ago. Does this give you a little bit more confidence, the win, going forward, getting back into the stadium this Saturday?
Well, it does as a driver, but I also know that the car is not quite where it needs to be. The shock combination has changed drastically because of the repaving of the track. Some of them have hit it. And we knew that. We knew somebody was going to figure it out early and be really strong. And I'm still searching for the right shock combination. Hopefully, we'll be a little better this week. So, it's the same for everybody. It's a hard track to get around. It's a little rough. Same track for everybody.
Finally, you touched on it a little bit, but your love for drag racing and kind of getting to do that on the off times that you're not at Bowman Gray or out at Ace. How much fun are you having with that? Because that is like, talk about two different worlds between Bowman Gray and a drag race. I mean, what correlates, and just what's it like for you to kind of hop in and out of both and just challenge yourself that way?
One of them takes an intense amount of concentration for a brief period of time. The other one takes a fair amount of concentration for a long period of time. So it is a different type deal. I enjoy doing both. When I was younger and my knees weren't so bad, I used to motocross. So I've raced on two wheels also. If I could just find somebody that had an offshore powerboat that let me drive, I'd try that too.
So basically give you anything with a motor and we'll see what happens, right?
That's it. Race anything we can.
Well, that's awesome. Well, congratulations again on the big win this weekend. Looking forward to much more success as we roll through the Bowman Gray season, and enjoy the rest of your week here this week.
I will, and I really appreciate y'all having me. And I got a goal. I want to be the oldest winner at Bowman Gray Stadium. So I'm 62 now. I've got a little ways to go. I'm not sure who holds that record now. Maybe Junior Miller or Robert Jeffries or somebody like that. But I'm looking to be the oldest winner at Bowman Gray Stadium in the modified division. So I got a few years to go yet.
That's all right, but you're not slowing down, though, at all. So we'll keep racking up the wins and see what happens here over the next several years.
Well, I hope so.
Awesome. Thanks for joining us again. That's Randy Butner, the driver of the number 5 modified, picked up race number 2 win over the weekend at Bowman Gray Stadium. We'll be right back on NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing. You're watching NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR Roots. Catch the Wheel and Modified Tour, ARC Menard Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on flowracing.com. Subscribe today. Welcome back to NASCAR Coast to Coast, presented by Flow Racing. Kyle, Ricky, Chris Wonder. We just joined with Randy Butner, your big winner, race number 2 out at Bowman Gray Stadium. And I think you heard just how much fun he's having, but also just how difficult it is to get wins now for a guy who's been around since really, 1987, racing at Bowman Gray. He cherishes these wins, and certainly it was fun to see him get back to victory lane here for the first time this year.
Well, I mean, the competition there is strong and has been for forever, but especially in the last decade to 15 years with the Myers boys, Bert and Jason and Tim Brown, and forever you had Junior Miller in there. So competition is stacked there at the stadium. But we've talked about it a couple of times during the interview and at the beginning of the show. The new pavement has added a whole different element to the racing there on Saturday night. So it'll be interesting to see how the drivers handle it now in a 100 lap event this coming Saturday with the Kevin Powell Motorsports 100. We saw the 200 lapper to open the season. Call them heat races compared to the first week of racing. 225 lap features on Saturday night this past week, and then 100 lapper this coming Saturday night. So a lot of different things thrown at these drivers, but they'll handle it well, and they're going to do it in front of probably another full house of 15,000 or so people.
Oh, absolutely. And if you can't make it out there, definitely Flow Racing is the place to be to check out the 100 lapper coming up this weekend. All right, also coming up this weekend on the calendar, ARCA East. Quick turnaround, like we mentioned in the top of the show. They've got the Music City 200 out at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway, one of the coolest short tracks in the country. A little bit late start, though, for those of you on the East Coast, 9:30, so drink that extra cup of coffee coming up on Saturday. Flow Racing's the place to be, but Sammy Smith, your defending winner, but I think, like we mentioned, Kyle, this season he's got a challenge, and it's Taylor Gray as well as a host of others that can make some noise at Nashville this weekend.
Yeah, point leader by 2. Taylor Gray really ate into that lead a week ago, and now he has momentum on his side. And I've talked about it this year a few times. I believe in momentum and positive momentum coming off the win at Dover last Friday. So it'll be interesting to see what Taylor can do at the Nashville Fairgrounds Speedway this Saturday night. Hopefully they get a good field of cars, because that track puts on a good show every time this series takes to it. We hadn't seen it much for a while, and it's nice to see the series back at Nashville, I believe a year ago, and again here in 2022.
Yeah, absolutely. And, with that break in 2020, though, some of the winners like Christian Eckes, Zane Smith, obviously both in the Camping World Truck Series right now. So if you can win at Nashville, you're doing something with your career. Yep. So certainly those drivers are going to want to get it done here on Saturday night. Also, when we talk about late models, North-South Super Late Model Challenge at Nashville. So that adds a triple header to that weekend, which, man, if you have no plans, get to Nashville, because you're going to see some awesome racing between ARCA and obviously the Super Late Models and Pro Late Models. The Super Late Models, it pins the Southern Super Series versus ARCA CRA. And Kyle, that's like a rivalry that's really grown in the last several years, and it's going to be fun because there's a bunch of big names signed in to do that race.
I think I saw 30, 35 already on the entry list. So, yeah, and all the big guns are there. All the names that are trying to get that last-second fan vote for SRX, they're going to be there. I believe voting closes on Saturday, right in the heart of the weekend. So we'll know by the end of the weekend who the local star will be for that SRX event before all the racing is said and done. But, yeah, a full weekend of racing. All they need now is a concert in the middle of the infield to kind of break up the racing a bit. And
you're at the country music capital of the world here, so I mean somebody's got to be free.
What I'm thinking.
Hey, call up your girl Cassidy Pope. Maybe she can come on down and do a concert.
I like how you think.
I know. William Byron is on the entry list, though, folks, so we've got some big names, and he's already won in a late model this year, so it'll be interesting to see what Willie B can do, one of the hottest drivers right now in the Cup Series with 2 wins, trying to add it on the short track level. So once again, that race is going to be Saturday as well, joined up with ARCA, so a full day of racing, and you can catch all that on Flow Racing. Cars Tour late model stocks, the super late models are off until June, but the late model stocks are at Ace Speedway out in North Carolina on Friday. And then we have the past late models. They were a part of the Spring Sizzler weekend. They're all the way out at Oxford Plains. I've never been there, but it's a beautiful facility. Looks like it should be a fun weekend for the past series.
And hopefully Derek Griffith is back after that massive hit a couple of weeks ago at the New Hampshire Motor Speedway. Yeah. The car went upside down in turn number 1. Had to miss the race at Stafford 2 weeks ago because of that incident. So hopefully he's back and good to go up at really one of the homes of that series up in northern New England and in Oxford, Maine. So going to be another great event up there in northern New England. Hopefully the weather cooperates with them up there, because I know it's pretty chilly, or was pretty chilly up at that part of the country just a couple of days ago, with temperatures barely reaching into the 50s. So hopefully it improves here in the next couple of days.
Yeah, I'll try to send the heat wave here in North Carolina up the coast a little bit and get you guys a little bit more toasty here, because it is May, so you guys better, it's got to start getting warm at some point, so hopefully sooner rather than later. So it should be a good weekend. Like Kyle mentioned, Modified's limited late models are there as well. That's on Racing America. And then you have just an absolute boatload of local racing. If I miss your racetrack, I'm sorry, but at least the ones on Flow that you can watch, they're in abundance. And you have Stafford Weekly Racing, Autodrome Granby, you've got Berlin, who had another rain out. They can't catch a break, Kyle.
No, that's I think Jeff Striegel, who helps manage that facility and is one of our anchors here in the Motor Racing Network, said Mother Nature 2, Berlin 1. They have had a tough year battling Mother Nature, but yeah, hopefully they're back this Saturday night. Always tough when you have multiple rainouts in the first month of the season to try to get a rhythm and to get fans engaged, and hopefully they can begin that process or restart that process again this week. Yeah,
absolutely. And they were quickly, Mother Nature may dampen race plans, but they're off doing renovations work too as well. So they're beefing up that Berlin Raceway as well. Also this weekend, the NASCAR season opener at Jennerstown. We're going to have the modifieds there in a couple months' time, but we've got the NASCAR Weekly Series at Jennerstown opening day at Riverhead as well on Long Island. That's a staple for those of you up in that part of the country. They're back in action. Then we mentioned Hickory, Langley, East Alabama Spring Nationals, Florence. It's all on Flow Racing. Just literally go up on there, fire up every screen in the house, and just pick which race you want to watch. It's awesome.
Yeah, and I think on my laptop last week I had multiple screens. There's just not enough screens for all the content that you can watch, and it's amazing. I was sitting there thinking how far we have come just in the last couple of years. From trying to go onto the internet to find results, and you probably don't remember checking the paper to get
I've
results.
done that once or twice.
Yeah, but it's been a while.
Yeah.
And now you can all of these tracks are at your fingertips. Whenever they open the gates and put cars on the speedway, you can tune in. I know Thunder Road had a big program this past Sunday that I was able to watch. They opened their season up in Vermont. The content's endless, and it's good for everybody, I think.
Absolutely. Well, before we wrap things up, do want to remind you that voting is open for the Advance My Track initiative presented by Advance Auto Parts, awarding your local NASCAR sanctioned track up to worth a big, $25,000?
I think that's it.
Yeah, $25,000.
A lot of money that can go a long way.
Yeah, no kidding. So go vote for your track. There's 21 of them eligible from all across the country. AdvanceMyTrack.com. Make sure you go vote. I think that voting ends in about a week or two. They're going to end it mid-May. So get on the horn if you haven't, and go support your local track. It's cool to see all these local racers, too, providing videos to kind of beg for your support, kind of almost like campaigning for class president, but they're campaigning for their home track. It's pretty fun to watch.
And it's fun to see NASCAR split the videos up into different regions of the country, and just to see how each track formats their video and all the fun fan clips that most of them show. It's truly, we talk about the short tracks. It's kind of where the families come together every Friday night, Saturday night, Thursday night in Thunder Road's case. And it's fun to see a lot of those shots of family in the grandstands enjoying short track racing across the country. And that's how these racetracks are hoping to get your vote and to get that money that they can further invest into their facility.
Well, Kyle, enjoy the weekend of racing at Stafford. Obviously, we mentioned all the action on Flow, whether it's Stafford or the hundreds of other racetracks that are on their streaming service. Go enjoy it this weekend. If you're a NASCAR fan, which we would think you are if you're tuning into the show, don't forget Motor Racing Network's live coverage. Triple header this weekend at Darlington. It's the throwback weekend, so excited to see who does what with their throwback paint schemes this weekend. Truck Series Dead on Tools 200 is Friday night, 7 p.m. airtime for Motor Racing Network. Mahindra Roxor 200 for the Xfinity Series is going to be a 1 o'clock airtime on MRN, and then obviously on Sunday, it is the Goodyear 400 NASCAR live on the air at 2:30. So lots going on, Kyle. Enjoy your weekend, and I'll have to check out what Stafford's doing this week on the old Flow Racing this weekend, because I've got a weekend off, believe it or not.
Well, why don't you come on up?
The point of a weekend off is to stay home.
Okay.
But I will be there in spirit, and I will have it on Flow, and I will text you the entire day.
Perfect. That's exactly what I need in the middle of a show is
I bet.
Text messages from Chris Wilner.
You did it to me during the Chili Bowl and the shootout, so it's right back at you this weekend.
I did and will continue to, yes.
I know. Looking forward to it. All right, well, we've taken up everybody's time a little bit too long here. For Kyle Rickey, I'm Chris Wilner. Thanks for tuning in once again to the Motor Racing Network's coverage of NASCAR Coast to Coast presented by Flow Racing. We will see you next week. If you enjoyed this episode of NASCAR Coast to Coast, be sure to subscribe to Flow Racing, the new home of NASCAR Roots, where you can catch the Whelen Modified Tour, the ARC Menard Series, Pinty's, and NASCAR Weekly Tour races all season long on FlowRacing.com. Subscribe today.